May is a month of a lot of conflicted, interconnected sort of energies that are taking place, wherein a lot of it is stemming from the movement of Mars into its sign of debilitation in Cancer. And a lot of it is also getting activated because there's a huge conjunction of energies that is taking place in the sign of Aries, as Jupiter is getting conjunct with Rahu, with Mercury that is also in retrograde currently, as well as Sun. All of these are right now in the sign of Aries, and a sign which is ruled by the planet of Mars, which, as I said before, is right now debilitated or in its weakened state. So what we understand here is that there is this huge amount of energy that rotates around our drive, our passions, how we basically express ourselves. And all of these things are getting impacted by our emotions, because the sign of Cancer is where Mars gets debilitated. So there is a lot of tangential equations wherein a lot of pushback, or kind of equation wherein we will face challenges with regards to how we're able to reconcile our self-expression and our emotional abilities at this point. So there is this sort of effort that needs to be put into basically being able to channelize our aggression in a way which does not come out as an emotional breakdown, right? It does not come across as a passive aggressive sort of expression of certain emotional traumas or wounds. So all these things can be something that can be triggered right now at this point because of Mars being in Cancer. And we have a very corroborating energy, at least when it comes to all the planets in Aries, because it's mostly happening in the nakshatra of Ashwini, which is very conducive to the energies of healing. And because it's happening in your sign of Aries, which talks a lot about child like state of mind. So this is a perfect time for you to reconcile the kind of anger you might have probably had because of certain things happening, and that leaving certain imprints onto your emotional psyche or your mental state. So this is a very positive time to deal with those kind of unpleasant emotions though, but still if we work towards it, it is definitely something that we can progress and work upon and be able to heal probably as well. And this is further corroborated by the fact that Saturn in Aquarius is going to be putting its third aspect onto all these planetary conjunction that is happening in the sign of Aries. So Saturn is basically also pushing us to put in the effort, to put in a hard work in trying to heal ourselves, in trying to make ourselves better, in trying to reform our self-image, how we basically express ourselves outwardly and as well as inwardly too. So the whole gamut of planetary energies is so interconnected tangentially that we are going to be having this kind of effect on our emotions as well as our passions, wherein we will have to reconsider how we do things and how we're able to heal ourselves at this point. And this the same sign we see that we have the first lunar eclipse of the year, and this is going to be happening in the sign of Libra. So this currently also provides the sort of energy wherein we are being asked to leave behind the kind of relationships which are not conducive to our growth. So there can be certain relationships depending on wherever Libra is in your chart. So those relationships that have held you back, the relationships that are not conducive to your growth, the relationships that have hurt you unconsciously or consciously, all these things have to be evaluated and they have to be left behind. Because if you keep carrying this baggage around, you will not be able to heal emotionally, and it will keep triggering you to a point wherein you will lash out on people around you. You will get aggressive with people, and it will not be conducive to your growth at all. So this is a time wherein you have to be able to have the courage to face these kind of unpleasant emotions, be able to fight through them, be able to understand them, and then take steps affirmatively to be able to heal yourself at this point, because this energy is conducive to do so. So I hope this kind of gives you a sketch as to what kind of planetary energies we will be seeing in the month of May. And we will now be going on to understanding how these energies will be influencing each sign of the zodiac. So Aries, for you, the month of May is going to be very catalytic, or very the kind of energies that are going to be ushered in during this month for you are going to be life changing to a certain extent at this point, because your ascendant lord, that is Mars, is going to go into your fourth house but get debilitated there, right? So debilitated as in weakened, and this is happening in your fourth house of family and your home. And on the same tangent, we see that Sun is going to be transiting in Taurus through your second house in the midway point of the month. So we see that a lot of focus is going to be on the matters of home and how you deal with your family values, how you kind of relate and draw your own identity as a member of that family, as a member of that unit. So there is going to be some push and pull back and forth regarding it. It can be a cause of aggression. It can be a cause of distress within the family unit, because there can be disagreements regarding how you represent yourself as a part of the family unit, and how basically you are showing up towards basically carving out a new identity with a renewed focus on your own self, as there is such a huge conjunction of energy in your first house in the sign of Aries. So you are right now rebranding, you are right now reforming yourself, and that can necessarily not be in accordance with how your family views you to be. So that can be a cause of a little bit of rift, that can also create emotional tension within your relationships, because we see that there is a lunar eclipse that's going to be happening through your seventh house. Your month of May is going to be focused on a lot of equations that you hold with other people, because your second house is getting activated, your fourth house is getting activated, your seventh house is getting activated, your 11th house is activated, your third house is activated. So all of these houses basically talk about how you deal with other people. We have Venus, which is going to be coming into Gemini in your third house. So there can be a possibility that if you kind of forge into creating a dynamic with people around you where your communicational skills will get much better, but this will happen post like the second half of the month, because until that point we have Mercury, which is going to be retrograde, and that's going to be happening in your first house. So your communication will not be as great, but as we come to the Venus's impact into your third house, that will start to manifest into those things as well. Mars from your fourth house is also going to be impacting your Saturn from its eighth aspect. So there is a possibility that there are chances that you will want to now invest into something relating to, let's say, real estate, or something relating to property and things like that. And the kind of fears that you had regarding it before will now sort of culminate into taking initiative as to make sure that your monetary benefits are in line with how you want to basically gain money, and how you want to expand your money gains as well. So that is going to be the other thing that we can see happening in May, wherein you become quite focused as to how you are going to be managing your money, and that being independent of any of the influences from other people around you. So that is going to be there. And Saturn is also going to be putting its third aspect onto your first house. So it shows that, whatever efforts that you're making right now with regards to building your monetary resources, you will have to work hard to achieve those things. But as long as you keep focused on growing yourself and learning more and basically upskilling yourself, the more you will be able to achieve higher things. But you need to be focused as to how to maintain balance of your emotional health right now and mental health, as and being able to provide better resources for yourself to cultivate monetary safety and security, and hence also start to heal those emotional wounds through being able to be more productive. And I hope you have a great month of May ahead, and thank you for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. For you, how the month of May is going to turn out. Based on the planetary transits that are happening during this month, we see that there's this huge conjunction of energy which is happening in your 12th house, wherein all this energy, which is Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, and the Sun currently is in your 12th house in the sign of Aries, which shows us that you are on this journey of taking a step back, and a journey basically of self-discovery and analyzing how you are going to be seeking rest and solitude. Now, as we see the kind of planetary transits that keep happening during the month of May, we see that your Sun is going to be then transiting through your first house. And this is a great moment in terms of you feeling, better about yourself, your self-image, your confidence. So a really good tide of energy in relation to how you feel regarding, let's say, matters of how you deal with a sense of self in relation to the amount of money you make, the amount of monetary security you have. So these are good things that would be happening as soon as Sun transits into the first house through the sign of Taurus for you. Also, your planetary lord Venus will be transiting into the second house in Gemini. Again, a good omen for you to focus on your money building abilities, your ability to basically be able to chart more monetary resources for yourself, maybe diversify the ways that you're able to seek monetary security, and those kind of themes basically lay in. But what really sticks out is the fact that, all these energies, which is, the Sun in Taurus, and then Venus for you in the second house in Gemini, also then Mars being there in your third house, all of these houses somehow, or the signs, are relating to your vocal abilities, to how you speak, how you ideate, how you are able to express yourself. So a lot of energy is focused here. And now, because Mars is going to be in your third house, which is, all about your communication, your self efforts. So this is a good and a bad omen, because it's debilitated, right, in the sign of Cancer. So what we see that you have to be quite assured of the kind of things you speak before you utter them through your mouth. Be very sure of what you are speaking of, and you don't kind of go through emotions and in a state of sudden upheaval, or a sudden sort of a event, you suddenly, in a fit of anger, kind of say something that you would regret later. So that is something that you need to be really, really cautious regarding, because that will have lasting effects. Mars making that 8th aspect on your 10th house, where Saturn is currently transiting, further shows that, there can be this effect of losing all fear when it comes to dealing with your superiors, and that kind of backfiring onto your ability to be able to make money and basically be able to be profitable, as it also impacts your 12th house. All in all, what it shows is that you need to be extremely careful of how you are going to be ideating, communicating about your ideas, or just how you deal with anger when it comes to the realms of your work, especially because both the lunar eclipse and the Saturn transiting through your 10th house is going to be impacted by this emotional anger outburst kind of an energy that is presenting itself from Mars in the third. but it also shows on a positive aspect that you will be very driven to achieve the things that you want to, but there can be some sort of conflict within the fact that, how much of emotional energy would you feel that you have in order to meet these kind of goals or the kind of dreams that you want to achieve right now. But steer clear of that and focus on being able to build your identity, your personality, your money making ability, because that's a very conducive energy for you to be focusing on the month of May. So that's all for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great month of May ahead. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. So Gemini is for you. Let's see how the month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that are taking place during this month. We see that there is this huge conjunction of energy that is happening in your 11th house in the sign of Aries, and where we see that Jupiter, Rahu, and Sun at this point, and also your ascendant Lord Mercury will be retrograde, right? So what do we see is that you right now have to be very cautious as to who you are surrounding yourself with and how you are basically able to portray yourself as a part of, let's say, a community or a sort of group that you kind of associate a lot of your identity with. So that is something that will be a highlight for this month for you. But we also see that, the sun will then further transit into your 12th house, which shows that there could be a sense of loss of identity, self, or how you basically value certain, let's say, basic ideas of money and things like that, and how you deal with losses regarding that. So a lot of basically contemplation regarding how to deal with loss, be it of your identity in relation to a group, or also your ideals in relation to monetary principles. So that is something that you will have to kind of deal with during this time. And also Venus then moving into the sign of Gemini in your first house shows that you would be right now inclined to kind of work upon yourself in a way that is, beautifying yourself, or basically coming across as more charming in your personality and things like that, and basically being very vocally exhilarating and things like that. So basically working upon how to present yourself better to other people. So that is something that you could be right now focusing on. And also we see that Mars is going to be transiting through your second house in the sign of Cancer. And now this shows that you could right now be driven in terms of, wanting to kind of balance out and create a safer environment for your financial investments and the way you save and earn money. So basically, this shows that you need to be balancing the energies of Mars in the second house, which talks a lot about earning and being able to save, and your Sun in the 12th house, which shows a lot about how you basically are going to be dealing with the principles of financial losses and things like that. So you need to balance these two energies, because what happens here is that there is some sort of correlation that happens within Mars and your 5th and 9th house, wherein we see that in your 5th house in the sign of Libra, there is a lunar eclipse which is going to happen. Mars is also aspecting your 9th house and Saturn. So it shows a lot of the fact that how you kind of think about your family values that you have been inculcated with since childhood, and how the kind of values that you are imbibing now, the kind of changes that are happening in your religious or spiritual or philosophical values could be at odds with each other. So how do you move forward with a kind of reconciliation or between these two sets of values, or how do you basically go forward with choosing one of them? So that kind of thing also presents itself. But another thing which we can see is that because the 5th house and the 9th house both deal with education, right? Be it primary education or be it, higher educational aspirations and things like that. So you have to be very careful of how your emotional state is right now going to be impacting your educational pursuits. So be very careful of not letting certain anger or impulsive thoughts basically overtake how you can academically perform at this time. So that is something that you need to be kind of wary of and careful of. So don't let yourself go into a state of emotional dejection, wherein losing certain people or let's say a romantic relationship or some friends right now makes you so dejected that you cannot be able to even perform within your educational pursuits, or basically be able to inculcate what you're reading or things like that. So that is something that you also need to be wary of. So a lot of your energy right now speaks a lot about how to come to terms with who you are in absence of certain people in your life, and how you basically work upon creating a better monetary source of money for yourself, how the intake and income will basically be more stabilized and you have better gains through it. So that is your month of May, and I hope you have a great month ahead, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. So Cancerians, for you, how this month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that are taking place during this month. We see that there is this huge sort of energy that is taking place in your 10th house of career and social image, because Jupiter, Rahu, then Mercury retrograde and the Sun initially will all be deposited in your 10th house. So this shows that your focus and inclination right now is all about excelling at your work, being able to basically rise through the ranks of your work, and how you basically get maybe a promotion or better a sense of responsibility and pride within the work that you do. So these are the kind of themes that basically encompass your major planetary energy happening in the 10th house. But what we also see that further when Sun goes into your 11th house, it's a lot about how you kind of create these sort of relationships with your network circle, or the kind of friends you have who will basically be able to lead you through to become more balanced in your approach of how you deal with your finances. So basically they will be able to kind of lead you towards being better at saving your money, about your resources, how you kind of deal with basically being able to make more financial gains and hence being able to save more subsequently. So these are the kind of themes that you can see happening when the Sun goes into your 11th house. But we also see on the other tangent that Venus is going to be present in the sign of Gemini in your 12th house. Now the 12th house talks a lot about losses, and Venus is the representation of money. So this clearly shows that you can also be dealing with some sort of challenges when it comes to how you are able to curb the sort of eclectic or divergent spending that you kind of have, the habits you have right now. Curb kind of maybe a coping mechanism that you have created with terms of, let's say that shopping kind of an adrenaline where you spend more, you feel better for a certain amount of time, and then it goes away after a certain point of time. So that shopping addiction, that sort of a spike in dopamine that is created with that. So you need to kind of be able to manage that and basically work more towards saving more and gaining more money, so that whatever progress that you're making at your work is basically able to help you to move forward with your financial goals. Now, what also happens, which is quite significant in the month of May for you, is that Mars is going to be transiting through your first house. So definitely what you are going to be seeing is that some sort of health thing is going to come forward when it comes to Mars being in the first house, but it's also debilitated, so it might not be a really great omen. So you could actually suddenly start to feel more, you know, mentally some sort of blockages, basically, where you will not feel as peaceful or as self-assured as you could have been generally. And this can even translate into, you know, your general well-being, how your health will be during this time period. And because the 12th house is also the house of illnesses, so I would definitely say that be quite cautious of how your thoughts are going to be leading to your physical well-being and not well-being as well. So really focus on how you can work on your health and basically gain that sort of benefits regarding a solid regulation of your emotional state as well. Mars is also going to be impacting your 8th house of longevity, right? And that is where Saturn is right now transiting. So we again see that, you know, this sort of something in relation to health is definitely going to be triggered during this time period. So you need to be on the forefront of trying to minimize as much of the impact that you can probably at this point. And also, you know, there is some sort of catalytic changes that can be coming forth, which can even impact your professional equations. So be careful of how you deal with, you know, unseen or unexpected events, and basically not let it impact your emotional health to an extent that, you know, everything sort of seems to unravel within your life at that point. So just be careful of, you know, trying to be balanced, trying to regulate your emotions at this point, because it can get a little difficult for you especially. So I hope, you know, you're able to tide these a little challenging energy that is happening for you in the month of May. I hope you have a great one ahead, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. So Leos, for you, let's see how the month of May is going to turn out based on the planetary transits that take place in this month. And we see that there is this huge conjunction of energy which is happening in your 9th house in the sign of Aries, wherein Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, and Sun, which is your ascendant lord, will be present initially in the month. And what this energy basically will signify for you is that there are certain topics with relation to how your belief systems are in relation to your religious, your spiritual, or philosophical beliefs. And these are something that you would be contemplating right now, or trying to just learn more about and get more knowledge about. And also the possibility of you undergoing certain, you know, higher educational pursuits, wherein you're taking a higher degree of, let's say, a postgraduate degree or something of that sort, wherein you're going to study on a further level than your general graduation level, basically. And you could also have possibly moved away from your home to get that knowledge. So this kind of learning and knowledge, culture, philosophy, religion, there's this huge energy which is right now signifying your interest and your learning in these subjects. Now what happens is Sun will further in the month transit through your 10th house, and this shows that, you know, there are possibilities that, let's say, if you're on the last leg of your postgraduate degree, and then, you know, these kind of ceremonies happen wherein companies come in, they kind of recruit you and things like that. So this can be a positive omen for that, you know, happening, because Sun present in the 10th house of your career and your public image shows that there is a good chance for you to actually be able to attract those kind of offers or those kind of money making opportunities in your career right now. you will actually be wanting to upskill even in your career to be able to have more authority at work or have more responsibilities be bestowed on you. So that kind of equation also comes about. Basically, your money making capability will actually increase during this time, and this is also shown by the fact that Venus goes into your 11th house in the sign of Gemini. So this shows that your interest right now will be on monetizing your career growth and to be able to maximize your financial gains at this point. So all this energy is very conducive for you to be able to focus on building your knowledge, building your career, and subsequently building your money making capabilities as well. But where the things can be a little difficult or challenging during this month is the fact that Mars is going to be transiting through your 12th house in the sign of Cancer. So both of these energies, be it Mars being in the 12th house or Mars being in the sign of Cancer, is not really conducive for how Mars as a planet really operates in our birth charts, right? So what this can show is that despite all these things happening in your life, there can be some sort of lingering, something very latent inside you which feels unsatisfied emotionally. So this kind of this kind of dispute or this kind of back and forth regarding how to find peace or how to be able to really just be happy or content with where you are in your life can be a little difficult or challenging at this point. And this can this kind of existential crisis sort of an equation can actually make you right now go into some sort of just taking a step back, basically. Even though you have all these things which could be happening for you right now, let's say, like I said, in your career, in your network circle, you could actually be able to catalyze on making profits through the friends or through the kind of people but somewhere down the line you're not just content or happy emotionally in your life at this point, despite all these things happening for you. So that is something that you should probably dig deeper into and try to understand what is the reason as to why I am not content or peaceful at what stage I am at this point, and just try to not really demonize or just like don't try to belittle yourself for wanting to take a step back and just rest a little bit, recharge, and try to come back to all the things that you need to do with a much more clearer perspective, much more settled perspective when it comes to your emotional state and mental frame of mind. Mars is going to be from the 12th house. It's going to aspect Saturn, which is in your 7th house. And 7th house is all about your romantic partnerships. So it further shows that this kind of, you really want to kind of eliminate a sort of fear that is inherently somewhere creeping into your psyche regarding your romantic relationships. But there is this just latent sort of dissatisfaction wherein you kind of know that this is not the right thing for me. So I would say, rather than holding on to something that is not bringing you joy, it's much more important to actually be able to give it some room to breathe, understand where you are lacking, why is it from your end that things are not working out, right? To maybe evaluate that and try to come at the problem from that perspective. But relationships can be a stickler point during this month, so just kind of make your peace with it to a certain extent, I would definitely say, and work more on your mental health and how you basically kind of try to come back to a very peaceful operative state of how you want to go about being driven and being passionate about the things that you want to achieve and acquire. So I hope you have a great month of May, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. So, Virgos, for you, let's see how the month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that are taking place during this month. So, we see that there is this huge conjunction of energies happening in your eighth house, wherein Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury being retrograde, and Sun are all present initially in your eighth house. So, this can be a little difficult energy wherein, because your ascendant lord Mercury is present in the eighth house, and that too in a retrograde state. So this can definitely pose some sort of challenges with regards to, your just just some unseen events or some unexpected changes that take place in your life, which can take a little bit of, getting used to. It'll be a little difficult to come to terms with certain things that suddenly happen out of the blue. So that sort of energy can come about. But also with regards to your health, you need to be careful right now, because even Saturn being in your sixth house does not bode the best results for your health personally. So just be a little careful regarding uh, any minor even health concerns that you have, so that you can attend to them before they actually turn out to be major causes of worry or distress. So that is one thing definitely that you need to be careful of. And also you can have this kind of energy wherein you would want to learn things regarding the occult space, wherein, it could be astrology, it could be various things that not many people know much about. So that kind of eclectic source of education or learning is something that you could be right now interested in as well. And you can also take further steps into, learning more about it, also when Sun moves into your ninth house at the latter part of the month. So what happens there is that you will now sort of feel like a sense of wanting to learn more about, let's say, your religious values, your spiritual values, and your philosophical beliefs, things like that. You would want to basically explore more regarding these things. There is also a possibility that if you were interested in, learning or pursuing something education wise, in a much more traditional sense, you would want to actually pursue that and go about attaining that knowledge as well. What we also see is that Venus will be transiting through Gemini in your 10th house. And this definitely shows that in your workspace, especially when it comes to how you are going to be perceived by your superiors at this point, it can be that you could actually have a good sort of a social image at this point, wherein people actually like you. They like you for the kind of you know varied ways that you can come at, let's say, at a problem professionally or whatever. So basically your acumen and your general verbosity is something that people would actually be interested in. So that is definitely something that can work for you. But also something that, you will be actually able to catalyze in terms of getting higher monetary benefits at your workplace as well. So that energy presents itself. But the thing that can be proven to be a little challenging is the fact that Mars will be transiting through your 11th house in the sign of Cancer, which is its sign of debilitation. And what happens here is the fact that you could actually get the sort of feeling wherein you don't feel necessarily great about your interactions, or the kind of emotional connections you have with the people around you, which can consider, like, let's say, like your friends or your network circle in general. And this kind of dissatisfaction can kind of come out in a way, even like, a passive aggressive sort of a communicational pattern, or let's say basically aggressive undertones when communicative with certain people. So it can be a little challenging for you right now to basically express yourself authentically, to who you really are at the core of, yourself. So it can be a little challenging for people to understand you right now. Your emotions can be a little haywire, it can be a little up and down. So that kind of trouble to basically come to terms with certain things can go outwardly. So rather than going inwardly and trying to understand more, it can also maneuver into, basically expressing your dissatisfaction with certain things and taking it out on people around you. So that is something that you need to be careful of. You should not veer into a kind of behavior or demeanor wherein it becomes insufferable for people to be around you. So that sort of equation can present itself here, unfortunately. But other than that, you could also be right now very focused or wanting to be more focused as to how you want to attain higher financial gains, and basically work more on becoming a more wealthier person in general. So that is the kind of energy which also presents itself. But yeah, it would not be as streamlined or driven as it could be if Mars was not in its sign of debilitation. So this can be a little challenging time to basically understand or comprehend how you really want to approach money, how you really want to be investing your money, saving your money. So that can be a little difficult for you right now. And also on the fact that your emotional turmoil can even breach into your equations with your family. So you could have fallouts with your family members, and the kind of back and forth that happens verbally can become a little too scalding. So you need to be a little aware of the kind of things that come out of your mouth at this point, especially. So just be a little careful of your speech, especially during this time, with the people around you, be it your family, friends, or whoever, right? Don't unnecessarily take things out on the people who necessarily would not have caused it. And I hope you are able to resolve this kind of conflict in the month of May. Thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. Libras, if someone in the zodiac is having one hell of a time in this month of May, it is certainly going to be you. And not in the greatest sense. So let's try to understand what are the themes that you can experience during the month of May based on the planetary transits that are taking place during this month. We see that there's this huge conjunction of energy that is happening in your 7th house of romantic relationships and business relationships, because we have Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, as well as Sun initially in your 7th house. So all of this conjunction of energy in your 7th house is definitely asking of you to focus on how basically you attain or attach a sense of self in the kind of relationships that you keep in life. You are the sort of sign that depends a lot on the kind of value you create for yourself as a part of a collective. And by a collective, I mean, let's say a part of a, partnership, like a me and my person sort of a thing, or let's say a business partnership or things like that. You are not a sort of person who works the best alone, right? It can be a little too indecisive for you to work completely by yourself. But this energy is basically focusing the kind of effect that you need to create in order to function the best by yourself. You need to really, really focus on how is it that your relationships that you have created or cultivated in your life are enriching you. Are they benefiting you or not? Are you learning something from them or not? Or is it just you basically giving into your people-pleasing tendencies? So that is something that is definitely going to be a source of contemplation and, working through with all this energy in your seventh house. But what also takes place is that, on the latter end of the month, we see that Sun will transit through your eighth house. So this can show that there is this sort of going inward and basically being more self-contemplative regarding, your identity, how you relate to certain things, how you're able to get a sense of self. This can even come in terms of the kind of values you have around money, right? Let's say in business partnerships, especially, you're going to be really contemplative of how do I really, what are the values in relation to money making that I have that are, in a way holding me from really achieving or attaining things on my own, even. Now, Venus, being your ascendant lord, is in your ninth house in the sign of Gemini. And this definitely is like a very lively energy wherein you should right now want to feel more liberated. You will want to feel more effervescent, more fun loving in your equations, especially when it comes to love, right? How you receive, give love, sort of an equation. So you should definitely look for being more freedom oriented and more individualistic about, what you really want to attain in life through the love you give or receive from people. Be more focused on you rather than, be focusing on giving other people what they lack. Focus on yourself, right? And you could even want to learn certain things about yourself, and that can go into a deeper exploration of your religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs as well. So those things can also happen. You can also probably take a break, go travel somewhere to kind of, explore different pastures and cultures, basically, to be able to get a different perspective on things in your life, probably. So that is also a possibility here. Now, one of the major catalytic situations that will be happening during this month is the lunar eclipse that will be happening in your first house. Mars is going to be transiting through your 10th house. Now, technically, Mars in the 10th house is a great thing, especially for your career, but I wouldn't say it's the best because it's happening in the sign of Cancer, and that is its sign of debilitation or weakened state. So what we can see probably happening here is the fact that all this, breaking away from other people and just a sense of self, which is not great right now, can even permeate into your professional equations. So you could also probably suffer in terms of how emotionally fulfilled you feel even with your work. And it can basically kind of keep tumbling into a bigger storm that you need to somehow get a hold of. So you need to be focused on cultivating that sort of happiness or sense of self or worth, not just from your work, but the kind of happiness that you can achieve from being purposeful in your life regarding things that you do. So that is extremely important. And you have to be careful of not letting this emotional turmoil somehow escape into your professional kind of conversations that you have with your superiors, because there can be instances where this unresolved emotional turmoil can come out as a passive aggressive behavior or communication. So be careful of not indulging into that, especially with your superiors. And what we also see that Mars from your 10th house is going to be aspecting your 5th house by its 8th aspect. And Saturn is present there. So we can definitely see that your personality in general can come off quite combative during this time. So be a little careful. You are a little unsure about just who I am, what's happening, sort of an equation. And this is a time when you can be triggered easily. So be careful Do not let things impact you so much that you lose your sense of self itself. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope you are able to tide this kind of difficult energy right now, and you come towards the other end having had that sort of revelation or the sort of progress that you need to make. So, yeah, thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So, definitely do give that a look as well. Scorpios, for you, let's see how this month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that take place during this month. And we see that there's this huge conjunction of energy which is happening in your 6th house, because we have Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, and the Sun initially in the month in your 6th house. So, what this kind of signifies is that, there is this sort of energy wherein you could feel a little combative with terms of the kind of opposition that is not very apparent on the surface in your work environment, especially. So you could have this kind of intuition, or let's say the kind of sense that things are not exactly how they're supposed to be. And that sense can put you in a way, basically in a combative zone, wherein you want to kind of, get to know, okay, what is happening, or how can I overcome this kind of opposition that is against me at this point, probably. So, that is the kind of energy that, can be cultivated during this time. There's also a possibility that, you have certain undertones of, let's say, your monetary loans, or the kind of money that you have borrowed that is causing some, unnecessary trouble for you at this point. So those are the kind of things that can basically be put into motion when all of this energy is happening in your 6th house. This also relates to even your health in general. How are you feeling according to your health, your well-being, and things like that. So these kind of difficult tones of energies can present themselves when there is this huge conjunction of energy happening in your 6th house. But I would say, at least when it comes to Venus moving into your 8th house, it's a really good omen for you, Scorpios, because if you have any challenges when it comes to, let's say, your monetary loans and things like that, Venus, which is the significator of money, going into your 8th house, which talks a lot about gaining money from other people's resources. So certainly there can be some sort of financial aid that you would be able to acquire right now. This can even possibly be the fact that if there was some sort of loan that you were not able to, get previously, you will be able to acquire it now, sort of an equation. So that is a good omen, I would say, at least to sort of balance out the situation, at least to a certain extent. And even when it comes to, let's say, people having some sort of, let's say, ulterior motives or some sort of agenda against you, if you're smart enough to kind of, on the low, basically create a sort of equation with someone who can basically disclose some sort of secret or some sort of information to you that can help you to counteract the sort of opposition that is being created against you, then that can also work stellarly in trying to, give you a push towards a forward momentum. And that can also be achieved by having this Venus transit happening in your 8th house. So possibly some sort of, trouble can be equalized to a certain extent when it comes to the Venus transit through your 8th house. But what I would certainly say can be a source of conflict or distress in general can be your equations when it comes to romance or business. Because Sun, which is, the source of, let's say, our sense of self, our confidence, and things like that gets debilitated in the seventh house. And we also will understand further that, there is this lunar eclipse which is happening in the sign of Libra, which is all about romantic partnerships. So both of these things coming together is not great for your romantic relationships or even your business partnerships. Ascendant Lord, which is Mars, is right now, though it is in your ninth house, but it's in the sign of Cancer, which is its debilitation sign. So, two planets being in like a sign, or Mars and Sun both somehow being debilitated, is not great when it comes to your source of being driven, the source of being passionate, being able to really achieve things that you want to. So I would definitely say it can be a little tricky for you right now to come to terms with the fact that as driven as Scorpios can be, you might not be able to really achieve things that you set your mind to at this point. So how you can really manifest this energy of Mars being in your ninth houses, you should really try to look inwardly into what are the things that are not helping you out, what is basically stopping you from achieving those things, what is something that you can work upon in terms of being able to be more satisfied, or at least work better at achieving those things that you really want to get. So this can come through probably, let's say, some sort of evolving, sense of a religious, spiritual, or philosophical identity or belief systems. So that can be something that you can actually explore during this time, which can give you a sort of, I would say, a sort of help with your emotional turmoil at this point, the sort of mental health issues and things like that. So that can be a source of respite to you definitely during this time. So explore those themes and be able to kind of navigate how you are dealing with the kind of upheaval that can be created in your life at this point. Even if your thoughts or your opinions are not on the same page as your family, it's not necessary to deal with those disagreements through verbal conflicts and things like that. So be a little careful on that front. But all in all, I would definitely say this is a time for you to go internally, explore what is really happening outside of you that you probably do not have much control over at this point. So try to work more on the internal landscape than the external or outwardly manifestations at this point. I hope you're able to navigate this energy in May, and thank you so much for watching. Hi, lovely viewers, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we will be discussing what are the significations and themes that will be presenting themselves for all the zodiac signs in the month of May, based on the kind of planetary transits that are taking place in this month. And there are a lot of things which are happening, which are tangentially connected with each other, and these are going to create these sort of portals for us to work on ourselves and be able to heal from certain equations and emotions. So we will definitely dive into understanding what are the significations that you can expect to happen during this month. If you like this video and you resonate with the kind of predictions that are shared, then do not forget to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you soon with the next video. Until then, take care, you all. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. Sagittarians, for you, let's see how the month of May turns out based on the planetary transits that are taking place during this month. We see that in your fifth house, there's this huge conjunction of energy which takes place as Jupiter, which is your ascendant lord, Rahu, Mercury, which is retrograde, and Sun in the initial part of the month is going to be transiting through your fifth house in the sign of Aries. So what this shows us is that, being a sign which is driven by knowledge, experience, and learning, it is a very conducive time for you to work upon your knowledge and your understanding of things, because being in the fifth house of education and also being in the sign of Aries, this can be a great time for you to reinvent who you really are as a person. What kind of knowledge and what kind of learning do you like to undertake and be a part of? So it's a very conducive energy to learn more, to have newer experiences. So that is something that you can definitely see. Also, we see that because fifth house is the house of romantic relationships, and also your Venus will be transiting through the seventh house of your romantic partnerships and business partnerships as well. So both of these things can be quite conducive when it comes to the energy of probably finding like a new romantic connection, but it is not the best energy, I would say, when it comes to being able to cultivate or being able to build upon that initial connection or the initial chemistry that people can have when they kind of connect romantically to a person. Because we see that there is this lunar eclipse which is happening in the sign of Libra, and it is going to be happening in your 11th house. We also see that your sun will be transiting through your 6th house during the latter part of the month, wherein we understand that there can be possibility of you actually looking into your finances and how you will be able to kind of get out of, let's say, some sort of financial loans, or some sort of basically undertaking of some mortgage or whatever, basically any legal instruments regarding money lending or borrowing. So that sort of thing can be something that you will be contemplating as to how to basically balance that thing with your financial savings and things like that. That can be something that you can really start to wonder and kind of work towards. We also see that Mars will be transiting through your 8th house, and this can basically play into the similar themes of being able to acquire monetary aid through the profits derived from other people's resources. So probably some sort of lending or borrowing situation that you are into, and basically being able to equalize those burdens, financial burdens, with the kind of savings that you already have. So that can be something which is on your mind at this point. But Mars being present in the 8th house but in the sign of Cancer can prove to be a little difficult when it comes to let's say your the kind of emotional clarity you will have regarding things. And there can be instances wherein you will feel the need to hide your emotions from others because of the kind of aggression or the kind of passive aggressive thought processes that come into expressing those complicated emotions. So that can be something that can come about, which can be like a sore spot during this month for you. So kind of pay attention to this thing. Mars being present in the 8th house will be aspecting your Saturn in the 3rd house by its 8th aspect. This can prove to be like a beneficial thing because Saturn being in the 3rd house is a good omen when it comes to the fact that you will be working hard at your goals, what you want to achieve. Slowly and steadily you will be able to achieve the things that you set your mind to by dedicated hard work and having discipline. And this aspect from Mars can also prove to be the fact that you will not be scared of, let's say, any sort of challenges that come about which you weren't expecting. You will be able to take those head on and face them. So that can be a sort of thing, but it can also have a connotation of the fact that these kind of hidden emotions that you have, you will not be able to communicate them to anybody. So that will lead people to basically not be able to understand you or your emotions, and mistake or misunderstand a lot of things that will be going through your head or what you speak right now. So pay attention to how you basically maneuver this kind of need to be secretive about your thought processes or your emotions. Deal with this kind of a predicament, and I think other than that you will be able to kind of sail through the month of May. I hope you have a great month ahead, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. Capricorns, for you, let's see how the month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that take place during this month. So we see that your focus is definitely going to be on increasing your financial savings and being able to increase your money making ability, because your ascendant lord is traveling through your second house at this point. So definitely the kind of effect of this transit will be you wanting to focus more on making money, how you will be able to save more, increase your financial security. So these kind of themes will be central to you at this point. We also see that there's this huge conjunction of energy which is happening in your fourth house, wherein Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury, which is retrograde, and Sun at that point will be transiting here. So we see that your focus is very much on things in relation to family and home, because the second house is also representative of home and family, as well as your family values. And the same goes for fourth house, which can talk a lot about your family dynamics and the kind of values that you have with your relationships with the family members that you have at home. So definitely you are right now focused on creating a sort of balance within your familial relations, but it is not as easy as it seems. So there can be the sort of conflict within the fact that, you know, how you as a person identify as a part of this unit, and how are you differentiating from being just a part of the family itself. How are you differentiating your values from them? How are you differentiating the sort of even, let's say, the mental status when it comes to how you want to deal with family members. So it can be a little challenging as well, but these are definitely sort of focus points wherein you will have to put in your energy right now to be able to stabilize things right now. And we also see that during the latter part of the month, Sun will be transiting through your fifth house. So this definitely shows that in the tryst of trying to get higher financial gains or make more money, you will definitely look into things like putting your money into speculative gains and investment strategies, which are not necessarily always the safest bet of investments, but they do make you substantially higher financial gains than any secure investment. We also see that Venus will be transiting through your sixth house in the sign of Gemini. So this can also show the possibility on the similar lines, wherein, there's this thing where you could right now be looking into probably, let's say, moving out of your home, and for that probably you will be needing to get some sort of financial assistance, and looking into basically getting some loans and being able to afford that huge step that you have to take in your life, probably to move away from your family or things like that. So that can also be a possibility that you will want to basically explore at this point, and be able to understand what are the monetary repercussions of certain decisions that you would be wanting to take right now. We also see that, Mars will be transiting through your seventh house. So this definitely shows that your romantic relationships somehow, probably though you can be focused on them, but the sort of satisfaction, especially emotionally, that you receive from these equations might not be ideal. So there could be a lot of contemplation, or there could be a lot of confusion regarding that part as well, wherein your energy though is getting spent on trying to equalize or basically make your equations more peaceful in your relationships, yet it is not materializing the way you want it to. So that can cause you some sort of mental distress at this point. So that is, I think, the central theme for you right now, to focus on what kind of relationships you have with your family, with your colleagues, and even your romantic relationships, and how you're able to balance all of it together. So I hope you have a great month of May, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. Aquarians, for you, let's see how the month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that take place during this month. We see that there's this huge energy conjunction that is happening in your third house, wherein Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury retrograde, and the Sun in the initial part of the month will be conjunct. And this basically shows that you are right now laser focused as to how you want to achieve the things that you are, thinking of, the kind of goals you have set for yourself. And those things are not easy. You know that your intentions of achievement and success are very high. So the kind of effort that you put behind those things is something that you're really putting steam behind. So the amount of hard work, the amount of dedication, the amount of discipline that you're basically keeping behind all those dreams are something that will be positively influencing you. But also this shows that there can be this sort of distorted outlook, or just being too hard on yourself, wherein probably the outcome that you want is not happening as easily as you wanted to, and that can cause the sense of dissatisfaction or discouragement. So that is something that you have to keep at bay, even though things might not be working exactly how you want them to. But that does not mean that it is a failure, right? It is still a stepping stone into the journey that you want to create for your achievement of your dreams. So definitely keep that perspective into your mind when you kind of deal with the doubts regarding your own efforts and things like that. We also then see that during the latter part of the month, Sun moves into your fourth house, and this definitely shows that during these times that you could feel a little dejected, or you could feel a little unmotivated. Your family can definitely be a sense of support for you, wherein you can lean on them for the kind of mental clarity or mental stability that you would need to achieve those kind of aspirations. So that is something that definitely is there. This can also probably show the fact that you could be getting some financial advice from your family right now in terms of how to better save your money, and basically catapult that into making better efforts and creating better opportunities for yourself. Now, we also see that Venus will be moving into your fifth house, and this definitely shows the fact that there could be the possibility of some sort of interactions wherein there is some sort of romantic spark between you and someone at this point, though I wouldn't say that it is necessarily something that you would want to delve deeper into, but there is a possibility that a sort of a chance can be created for that as well. But we also see another signification here is the fact that Venus being the significator of money, and the fifth house being the significator of investments into speculative gains. So definitely you could be looking into investing in some sort of instruments wherein it gets you higher gains in a much lesser amount of time, but the risk here will be definitely involved. So I would definitely say look deeper into what kind of chances you're taking with your finances, and be a little safer, or on the side of caution at this point, definitely. Now, what we also see is that Mars will be moving into your sixth house. Now, Mars moving into the sixth house is typically a good omen, because the negative energy being present in the negative house basically makes a positive energy. But I would still say it's not the best in terms of the fact that Mars will be present in its sign of debilitation. So there can be a chance wherein something in relation to your emotional distress can cause even physical harm to your well-being. So there is a possibility of that happening, which you should try to avoid, and basically deal with the kind of mental blockages or the kind of emotions that probably you are, not being able to express as eloquently regarding whatever distressful thoughts you have at this point. So that is something you should definitely look into. Basically, focus on regulating your emotions for a better way of having physical well being. This also shows the fact that, in terms of you could probably want to be moving into a different, um let's say, if you are looking into different residential ideas, and or also looking into making different investment choices, then looking into your finances and how you basically want to achieve, let's say, monetary borrowing and things like that, can also be a theme which can take place at this point. There is also the possibility that there could be this passive aggressive exchange of words in your uh, workplace, which you need to be careful of. Do not suddenly have an outburst wherein, the people at your workplace would be on the receiving end of it. So probably think twice before you unload on someone without any sort of caution to the wind. So that is there as well. We also see that Mars will be aspecting your first house with its eighth aspect. So this definitely shows that, Saturn, your ascendant lord, being in the ascendant itself, and then Mars also putting its eighth aspect onto it, definitely again shows the fact that you need to be a little careful with your health, with your general well-being. Do not let others' opinions regarding you, be it opposing or whatever, affect your mental well-being, and focus on getting a sort of a balance within the kind of mental blockages you feel you have at this point, which can cause hindrance in your general well-being and also how you go about achieving your goals at this point. So I would definitely say that is the main theme for you to achieve during this month. I hope you have a great one ahead, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. So Pisceans, for you, let's see how this month of May is going to be turning out based on the planetary transits that take place during this month. We see that there is this huge conjunction of energy which is happening in your second house, because there is Jupiter, which is your ascendant lord, then there is Rahu, Mercury retrograde, and the Sun in the initial part of the month, which is all conjunct in your second house. So what we can see from this happening is that you are going to have a very laser focus on two things. One, which is wealth creation, how you basically create more money resources for yourself, which are more stable, which are more secure. That can be one of your major priorities at this point. And also, you will be focused on how you basically relate to your family values, be it, in terms of religion, spirituality, or philosophical beliefs that they harbor. So those two things can be something that you would be really focused on at this point, and which also gets further corroborated, when Sun moves into the third house, in the second sign of Taurus. So this definitely shows the fact that, you will be looking into stabilizing your income, but also on the other hand focus on creating more sources of income. And this could possibly be through the online medium, right? So possibly get some sort of side gigs, let's say, which are on the online platform, or whatever, basically, which helps you to create more wealth generating incomes, right? More sources of income, basically. So that can be something you would also be focusing on. This is also a time you will be focusing on furnishing the way you communicate, basically probably also working on your communicative abilities, how you ideate, how you come across with your communication to other people. That can also be something you probably are learning and bettering yourself regarding right now. On similar lines, we see that Venus will be going through your fourth house in the sign of Gemini. So, this definitely shows that, again, on the similar lines, you probably will be looking into getting more wealth creation resources by diversifying your income channels. So that can definitely happen, and this also shows that you could possibly even look into some sort of beautification of your home at this point. So basically renovating something small, or just like making your surroundings much more appealing and pleasing to you. And this can have a very good effect on the general positive aspect of bonding that you have with your family at this point. So all in all, this is like a very positive energy and omen that we see. Now what happens is Mars is going to be transiting your fifth house, and this is going to be happening in the sign of Cancer. So where challenges can come about in this transit is because Mars is going to be transiting through its sign of debilitation. So we can see that there is some sort of basically want of creating this wealth, wherein you actually are tempted to invest into these sort of speculative gains, wherein you earn faster but the risk involved is much more. So that can be something that you are driven towards right now, but you have to be careful of how you go about doing that. You should not be too bullish on investing in these things because the market is very very unpredictable at this point. So be careful of how you're going to be investing in these kind of things. This also shows the probability that how you basically relate in your romantic relationships to your partners, what sort of emotional connect you have with them can suffer at this point. So you can feel a sort of dejection when it comes to being able to relate to your partner romantically, and this can create emotional distress. So that can also be a possibility that you need to be wary of. You need to be very careful of how you tread these very shaky path, because once you kind of get addicted to this fast money scheme sort of an equation, it is very difficult to have a very rational approach as to how you want to be dealing with your wealth creation. You should not want to suddenly do something and then later regret because you did not have a full picture of what you really wanted to do with your finances. So be careful regarding that. Think twice about how you are going to be dealing with the probability of loss as well, which is created when you invest into these speculative businesses and investment strategies. So all in all, this is the kind of theme that we can expect for you to happen in this month. I hope you have a great month ahead, and thank you so much for watching. All of these predictions have also been shared on Patreon, where the extended version of these predictions are shared individually for all the signs. So definitely do give that a look as well. If you like this video and you resonate with the kind of predictions that are shared, then do not forget to please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you soon with the next video. Until then, take care, you all.